group of administrators come to him and say, hey, King, let's just try this. First of all, they targeted his pride and they tried to boast him up. Lord, your majesty. How's that sound? You like that? Lord, your majesty. Well, we walk into our house and if our wife calls us Lord Majesty, guess what? We're like, yeah. It's about time, right? So imagine how he feels when you have this group of people who are leading your land come to him and say, Lord, your majesty, let's try this. You know you're the real man. So for 30 days, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that everybody prays to you, lifts you. And if we find anybody going against the law, we're going to kick them out. You're going to put the law into effect, and we're going to feed them to the lions. Now, I don't know about you. I hate cats anyway. I can't imagine being in a den full of hungry lions. Probably would kick. Probably. But we think Daniel did. Because this is where the rubber meets the road. Now, let me backtrack and say this. In these times, when the king signed a law into order, he couldn't change it. He couldn't change it. So it was what it was. So he said, okay, fine, let's do that. Let's do that. He signed it, started then, and it was spread throughout the land. No more praying to anybody but King Darius. What do you think Daniel did? Before we get into it, and if you haven't read ahead, what do you think Daniel did? Anybody? You read ahead.
I read ahead.
Read verse 10.
Now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. 3 times a day got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to God, just as he had done before. He did it so everybody could see him.
Here's 2 key phrases in that script, in that passage, that I don't want you to overlook. When Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he went home and knelt down as usual. As usual. That means trouble didn't start and he goes and runs like we all typically do when it's about to go down. We get down on our knees, oh, pray God, don't let my mom find out, don't let my dad find out, don't let my wife find out. No. Remember the decision that he made way back in chapter 1 when he was 15? Well, that decision is starting to play out. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he had always done. Always done. Now, there's a big difference because this man, his faith in God was true faith, and his habits were habits. His decision developed his habits. And this is just who he was. This is just who he was. The officials went together to Daniel's house and they found him doing what? Praying and asking God for help. So what do you think happened? What do you think happened? They got to be tattletales. They ran to King Darius and said, Daniel, praying. What do you think the king's first reaction was? Now remember, he's prideful. Remember, they built him up. What do you think his first reaction was? Anybody? Give me a gut feel. Should have been. But you know what? He was so drawn to Daniel that he was concerned and did everything in his power to try to get him out of the lion's den. Now remember, King Darius is not a believer. He's not a believer, but he was drawn to Daniel in such a way that he felt empathy for him, and he was like, oh man, now what am I going to do? But his hands were tied. Brother man was going in the pit.